This week, we're taking you through southern New Mexico to a few of our favorite places: White Sands National Park, City of Rocks State Park, Silver City, Cloudcroft, and more. This is RV Miles.
This winter, LL Bean wants to help you get outfitted for all that's out there, with tips and advice for heading outdoors and exploring all the possibilities of the season. The best way to make your time outside comfortable in winter is to learn how to layer properly. That's as easy as 1, 2, 3. First, pick a base layer that keeps your skin dry and wicks moisture. Second, add an insulating middle layer that keeps heat in. And third, cover it all with a water and wind resistant outer layer that keeps the winter weather out. For more fun ideas, easy how-tos, and inspiring stories, visit llbean.com/guide.
Welcome to episode 256 of RV Miles. I'm Jason. You want to wait for me to say my name?
We've been off for 2 weeks. This is what happens. And I'm Abby, and we are two full-time travelers who have been on the road since 2016, crisscrossing North America with our 3 boys. Here at RV Miles, we talk all things RV and outdoors, from travel destinations, industry news, our national parks, and so much more.
We are, as I said in the intro there, we are just finishing up traveling through southern New Mexico, which is one of our, we've said this many times, New Mexico is one of our favorite states in the nation, and there's so much to enjoy in the southern half. And we've just left New Mexico, so we're now in Tucson, Arizona for a bit.
Really sunny, really warm Tucson, Arizona, where today it's literally maybe 50 degrees and cloudy and rainy, and feels like the very first actual fall day we've had since fall started.
Well, we had a few over in City of Rocks, but we'll get to that a little bit later.
Yeah, but that still had, I think, this just has the I want to curl up in a blanket and binge watch Great British Baking Show all over it today.
You're just saying that because that's what you did today.
Oh, you mean the 15 minutes I got to watch it before people needed to start their out school classes? Yes. If that's what binge watching means in my life, I got 15 minutes.
Well, we are glad to be back. We had a great time in southern New Mexico. We spent most of it not necessarily boondocking, but dry camping in state parks. So I'm excited to share with you what all we did. But first, before we get to that, here's some news out of Shenandoah National Park. So this is from Outside Magazine. Officials at Shenandoah National Park have created a new text alert system that could help campers find unoccupied campsites. Park users can join a text message-based channel called ShenCamp, and officials will send out text updates on available campsites in the park's 5 campgrounds. The alerts will either say plenty or full, and they'll go out on weekends in the afternoon. Basically, so locals or people in the area that are looking for a last-minute, first-come, first-serve campsite can find one. And I love this. What's great about the National Park Service system is that all the parks do operate fairly independently. So when parks try stuff like this out, right, and it works, then another park might pick it up. And that saves us from having issues where, somebody decides we're going to do the same thing at all parks and try it out, and it's a disaster. But if it works, then we can have improvements at some of the different parks in the country. So I think this is a good idea because there's a problem that exists. Recreation.gov is really a great place to reserve a campsite for a national park. It has become so good. Now it is very up to the minute. So when you see a campsite available, you can book it for that night. It used to be they locked it down like 2 days in advance.
Yeah, 48 to 24.
Yeah, and if you didn't get access to that campsite, then you would have to go and hope that one was there.
Or you'd have to talk to someone at the check-in station, which the flip side to all of what you're just saying is that there is no one to talk to
Yeah.
anymore, which can
There's
get
less of that, yeah.
a little. I mean, obviously, we talked about that on the last episode at Coachity, like that entire confusion about what was going on there against what recreation.gov was saying, and then what the very few camp hosts they had
I
actually
gotta
knew.
say, I'm fine with that. I love if you get it right, and you tell me just go to your campsite.
Oh,
That's great.
I love all of that. I think that when you take all human contact out of it and it just becomes about an online system, that's when things like what happened to us, where it was like, get out or stay, get out or stay. And it didn't just happen to us. Like we also heard from several other people who were there that they also encountered the do we go, do we stay, when really it was just about juniper.
Yeah.
But there was a breakdown there.
I think a lot of these places, there still are people there. And what is great about what has happened to recreation.gov over the last few years too, is that the campgrounds in the federal system they're operating on recreation.gov. It's not this separate thing that you go to book online, and then they have a separate system. So when you go to the ranger station or whatever it is, they can make changes right there within the system, and it's not two separate things. So they can see, what is available is not. They can see who's no showing, and we're seeing a lot more of like rules about no showing. You can lose your site, and I think for them to have a system where they can sort of send out texts, especially to locals, because this is one thing that there is a big balance differential between travelers like us who are going into areas to visit and tour, and locals who just want to sort of go out and camp on the weekends at their federal recreation sites or their state recreation sites. And, for those people, it used to be you didn't have to worry so much about making reservations. You sort of just went and you could camp. And now this sort of might help bring that back while still allowing for the fact that these campsites are still booked very, very heavily.
Yeah, it's nothing new. I mean, in the sense, when we were Texas state parks have been doing this for a really long time, because when we were there for the great Texas storm of 2021, I was on a contact list for a bunch of state parks that I was looking for availability. They would text me if something opened. So there's been that level, but it's not been, I think, as widely popular. And I like the idea of the national parks kind of leading the way maybe a little bit more, and this will encourage more state parks. Do you find it interesting that it's Shenandoah that's doing this? I mean, I don't know much about camping in Shenandoah.
Well,
but
they have 5 campgrounds, and they range between first come, first serve and reservable. And I think that's part of where this comes from, because they're trying to still keep some first come, first serve there.
I'm just surprised it's not somewhere like a Yellowstone, or a Yosemite.
Yellowstone doesn't need to do this because Yellowstone has completely gotten rid of first come, first serve. So what's available on recreation.gov is what's there now.
I thought the one as you come into West Yellowstone
was
not anymore.
None of them.
Yosemite is definitely still reservable, because I have a date on the calendar that I've got to be on in order to attempt to get something.
Yeah, and you're going to be reserving that, right?
Right.
But there's a certain date that that it has to happen.
It's very confusing, but yes.
What I hate is that there are so many differences in parks in the date that you have to book by. Some of them open up the whole year on January 1st. Some of them, it's a rolling 6-month window. Some of them, it's a 6-week window.
6 months at the first of every month.
Let's just make it the same across the system so we all know and can get used to something.
Yeah, and not one of these things like it's the 15th, but for only 7 weeks and 5 days from now. And so you're going to need to count backwards.
Yeah, and can you just book your, and then
we're going to have it start at 3 a.m. Eastern.
And then can you just book one day then? Or can you book your whole trip? It's different depending on. So
it's so confusing. So if I luck out and I can get us into Yosemite, it's a big if. but I'm like literally practicing what I need to do now in order to make it happen.
All right. Well, we're going to be booking a lot of cool California and Pacific Northwest stuff coming up that's involving a lot of that sort of putting windows on calendars, and we're going to be sharing with you a lot more about that in the future. Some exciting stuff to come.
Yeah, I think, we always do this at the end of every year as we get closer into welcoming that new year. We kind of talk about what we have coming for the following year. So towards the end of December, we will be able to really talk about 2023. And I think I feel confident in saying that if everything lays out the way we believe it will, 2023 is probably going to be the most game-changing year for RV Miles.
As long as there's no pandemic, there's no brain surgery.
Oh, stop it.
There's no transmission failures. There's no...
Well, are you saying you want to get a bus again? That's not where I thought we were going next year, but
all right, we got a lot to cover in southern New Mexico, so we're going to take a break, and when we come back, that's what we're going to do.
We'll be right back.
Chances are you've seen them on the road. That's because Blue Ox designs and manufactures the best towing products in the industry. Just look around, you'll find them on highways and campgrounds and anywhere you find people traveling in the great outdoors. Award-winning tow bars, base plates, and brakes, a full line of weight distributing hitches, adjustable ball mounts, and a new line of fifth wheel hitches. With Blue Ox, towing doesn't have to be a drag. To learn more about how Blue Ox can make your travel adventures even more stress-free, visit blueox.com. On every road trip, there are those moments you wish could last forever. Your kids running into the ocean for the first time, your friends belting out a song together in the car. You wish they'd never end, and yet they do. But you know what doesn't? Your Road Pass Pro price. We've been telling you about Road Pass Pro membership for a long time, with premium access to the Togo app, to Campendium, to OvernightRVParking.com and Our Village. The price has been $49.99 a year, but that price is going up at the beginning of next year. But you can lock $49.99 in forever if you sign up now, and you get $10 off with the code RVMiles10X. Don't wait on your Road Pass Pro membership. Plan your long trips on Road Trippers. Use the Togo app to make checklists. Use OvernightRVParking.com to find all of those quick overnights for free. It's such a great deal. Visit roadpass.com/pro to find out all the features. And remember to use the code RVMiles10X to sign up right away and lock in $49.99 before the price goes up next year.
All right, we are back, and it is time to talk about southern New Mexico. And this was such a wonderful thing for us. We talked about this on the last episode, being back in New Mexico and going to some of these places, because we spent our first winter on the road in New Mexico, hopping around New Mexico state parks, really. And they have fantastic state parks, and it is such a biodiverse state, I guess I'll put it. There's, you've got the desert, you've got mountains, you've got waterfalls, all sorts of stuff. And there are so many different things you can do. So we started our travels in this part of the state in Alamogordo. And Alamogordo is a cool place by White Sands National Park and the White Sands Missile Range, where the atomic bomb was tested and developed, and there's all sorts of military and space history stuff going on there. But we really love this area. White Sands is one of our kids' favorite national parks, if not their favorite.
It's our favorite, one of our favorites, I should say too. I think we all really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's just a blast, because you can just do what you want. You just go off. There's no trails. There are trails, but you just walk out into the dunes and you sled on them, and you can have dogs, and there's just so much that you can feel free about at White Sands. But let's start though with talking about where we stayed at Oliver Lee State Park. Now, we stayed here last time we were here, but we did not stay in the no hookup sites like we did this time. And I don't know. I thought it was fantastic.
It was a lot of fun. I would say that it's Oliver Lee is a fantastic place to do a no hookups. If you are wanting to kind of experience what it's like to boondock, but you'd still like to maybe just test it out with having a bathhouse and some of the creature comforts that come with being in a state park.
Water fill, a dump station.
Exactly. This is the kind of no hookup you should start off with. Look for a state park that offers that kind of campsite and then still have access to some of these, amenities. And so Oliver Lee is just, I think it's such a really well laid out park. They've done such a nice job of creating these beautiful giant sites, especially in the no hookup area, and kind of making you feel like you have your own little space. And I mean, you have the backdrop of the Lincoln National Forest, and the mountains are stunning. And it's all, you just feel so far removed. It's 4 miles in off of the highway to get to Oliver Lee, which is, a bit of a distance for state parks, really, when you're coming off of the highway. And so you don't hear traffic. It is so quiet.
Gorgeous sunsets, gorgeous sunrises. Your sites a lot of them are tiered. They're landscaped. They have big boulders, and you often really can't see your neighbors very much. It's
dark. It's a great park for doing night sky viewing. Now, we were there back in 2018, as Jason said, and we stayed over in a water and electric site. They do have several of those in the park as well. They're a little bit harder to book than the no hookup sites, obviously, especially I think on shoulder seasons when it can get pretty cold at night, and it did dip down close to freezing a few nights while we were there. But the difference between us being there in 2018 and being there in 2022 were a couple of things. And most notably for me was the lack of the visitor center really ever being open. They do have camp hosts, but we did not have to check in with anyone. We did not, have to do any kind of registration. Everything was waiting for us when we arrived at our campsite. And then the visitor center and also the tour that they give of Oliver Lee's ranch was not available as well.
I didn't tell you this, but they did do the tour. They came.
I'm sorry, what?
Well, you were gone for that day. Okay, so they came by. A camp host came around to all the sites and were like, "We're gonna have the tour at 10 a.m. on Friday. If y'all want to come meet at the visitor center," and they didn't do that. They did do that.
So they told you before Friday? And then
I think
you let me run off to the grocery store on Friday and didn't tell me about Old Timey Tour?
I'm making up Friday and 10 a.m. I don't know if the dates were right or whatever. That was just a placeholder there, but you were doing something.
So if you go with someone and they're given information about these tours, you might get to do it, but they would have to want to share that information with you. They might find sending you off to the grocery store a more valuable, or maybe the laundromat where you spent 4 hours. They might find that more valuable.
It was very last minute that they told you. I think you were already gone. I think they already said it that morning. It was that afternoon or something.
Off washing your underwear? Great. Okay.
Anyway.
So they will have sporadic tours. Let's leave it at that.
Yes, and there are other things to do there. There's a wonderful hike up into Dog Canyon, a difficult hike. Abby did a good portion of it, but it's like almost 5 miles up a mountain, and then back down if you want to come back because it's not a loop.
No, it's an out and back. And we had discussed, because there is access to the summit, you can drive up to the summit and go through the forest and drive up. So we did discuss doing that as an option where you could drive up there. And if you had either people who wanted to hike up, they could be met up there if they couldn't do the full 11 or 12 miles round trip, or you could have someone drop you off up at the top and then do the rest of the hike down. This is one of the things I love about Oliver Lee, City of Rocks, places, state parks in general, is that often you can access hiking trails in the park, giving you that opportunity to go out and hike without having to leave the campground. And this is certainly one of those that if you have the time and you have the endurance, because it really is a very steep upward climb. And I would say that the trail, you can tell the difference between when you cross from the state park into the national forest. And thankfully, it's not very long until you cross into the national forest because the state park trail is not nearly as well cared for. And so it can be a little precarious when you're climbing up and you have a lot of loose rocks. But I absolutely highly recommend this trail, even if you only do, I think we did a total of maybe a mile and a half in and a mile and a half back, and that was still worth it.
All right, we have so much to cover, so we need to move on. But before we do, I want to mention quick, though, the pricing of New Mexico state parks, super affordable. The no hookup sites are $10 a night for the no hookup sites.
$14 for a water electric.
And if you get the New Mexico State Parks Pass, which is an annual pass that anyone can get. I think it's $220. It's less for residents of New Mexico. The no hookup sites are free then. Okay, so next on the list is White Sands National Park. And White Sands, as we talked in the beginning here, is one of our favorite places on Earth. And what's so unique and cool about it is it's just these big sand dunes that are in a place where they're surrounded by totally different landscapes. They're surrounded by mountains.
Yeah,
and
it's pretty cool.
And they're gypsum sand, which is actually not sand at all. It's gypsum. And it is sort of a different feel and texture. It's very powdery, and it is cool to touch on your feet, and you can sled on it. And we did, and we had a blast doing that. But we did what we often do, what we love doing, is we brought in a big picnic with the Blackstone griddle and everything, and really cooked up a big dinner, traveling into the park in for an evening. We actually went for 2 evenings and saw the sunset and got to sort of see the dunes sort of in that golden hour, which is just amazing. And the kids just have a blast sledding, and you don't have to worry about them. We set up chairs and watch the sunset and let them go sled.
We had a blast sledding.
We had a blast sledding, yeah.
It was all around a really good time. It's just a park that brings out kind of the kid in you. If we can just talk briefly about the sleds.
Yes.
If I could make a suggestion,
buy them elsewhere.
Buy them at Walmart if you can in Alamogordo.
or if you're staying at a campground, see if share them with other people. See if they go to the desk at the campground. See if they have, because a lot of the campgrounds in the area actually just provide them for you, or they sell them. Because you buy them at the visitor center, they are $19.99 for the used ones, or I think it's $26 for new ones. And the only thing that works is saucers. So you want to have saucers, right? Right. And you want to wax them with wax, and they sell the wax is cheap in the visitor center. It's like $1.50, but then you can return the used one and get you used to get cash back.
Yes.
You used to get a decent amount of cash back. So now you get $5 back.
Oh, I was under the impression now it's just store credit.
It is. That's where I was going with that. So it's $5 store credit that you get back. So the new sled's $25.
You can't even buy a Subway footlong.
Used one is $20. Well, you can't buy a Subway footlong because there's no Subway in the visitor center.
I'm just saying, what is $5 anymore?
And the other thing is, if you return it, you have to return it before the visitor center closes at 5:00 too.
Yes.
Which is really unfortunate because you want to be able to stay into the evening. So that's a lot of money for a bunch of sleds for people, right? There was 9 of us, and we got 6 sleds, I think. And, it ends up being over $100. And then we go to make a special trip to return them, and it ends up being $5 per sled store credit. And then they're going to then go resell those sleds again for $20. And we're not complaining about the National Park Service here, so let's just get that out there, because this is a private gift shop that is separate. So it's not like it's money going to the parks, right? So
air quotes.
Get your sleds elsewhere if you can, but do get saucers.
Yeah,
and do wax them.
Another good place to look might be also on Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
You might find some people selling sleds there as well.
Had we known that it was going to be store credit, we would have just left the sleds at Oliver Lee for somebody else to grab.
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
Or just handed them over to somebody else in the visitor center.
We should have literally stood in front of the counter as someone was walking up to buy a sled and said, "Here, save yourself $26. They certainly don't need it here. Take our sleds. Go have fun."
This is a place you can't see sunrise there. Sunrise is such a great photography time, but the park isn't open at sunrise. So sunset is just wonderful, and it is very much worth it. Wear sunblock even if it's cold, because that sun bounces right off that sand. But it is so amazing to see the sunset at White Sands National Park.
Absolutely. And once you do that, there's a few other things you can do around the area to pass the time as well. And one of them is to go and see the world's largest pistachio.
Yes, this is at McGinn's Pistachioland. And
where to start?
We've driven by it many times and never stopped there. But the person that cut my hair in Albuquerque. Yes, the woman that cut my hair in Albuquerque was like, no, you have to stop at Pistachioland. Because, well, she said they have really good wine tastings. We didn't do the wine tasting
because
we didn't have time for it, and we were going to a brewery. So,
well, I looked over it, and I mean,
she said it was wonderful.
Well,
but
it was all sweet wines, like really sweet wines, and we're just not like sweet wine drinkers.
And I'm not really a pistachio person either.
There weren't any pistachio wines, so I don't know. Listen, they had wine slushies. But I don't know what to tell you.
But I'm talking about the actual pistachio part of it. Like, so you can, the world's largest pistachio, you can take a photo there or whatever. But no, I loved the pistachios because they have samples of like 40 different flavors of pistachios. They give you the little cups, and you go to the machine, you turn it yourself, and you get to sample everything. And there's like...
He's coming up to me and he's like,
try this one.
Have you tried this one? Oh, Abby, they got samples.
The dill pickle one was amazing.
I was like, yeah, I see they have samples, babe. This looks great.
They have an ice cream stand, and then you can get on a little trolley thing and do tours of the actual orchard as well.
That seemed a little expensive. I
thought it was
honest. Free. No, honey. It was, I think, $10 or $15 an adult. And then
that's the problem. See, things like that.
Yeah. It would have been over $50 for our whole family to go on a tour.
And that's the issue for a family of five is, when you're a couple traveling to a place like that, you're like, oh, well, it's going to cost us $25 for the tourist, two of us to do this. Not so such a big deal. I
probably still would have side-eyed that. Okay.
Anyway, Pistachioland was very, very much worth a stop.
We highly recommend was it the lemon lime? We bought a bag of the lemon lime pistachios and then the pistachio brittle.
The brittle was so good.
The brittle didn't last 24 hours. I mean, it was so good.
Also, you can get the Pinion coffee there.
Oh, yes, which we're drinking right now.
Which is available in different places, but that's what's in our mugs right here.
Yes, we have the Adobe Morning, and it's very delicious. I will say that it's a little expensive there. I was able to find it.
You can get it at the grocery store.
Yeah, slightly cheaper at like a natural grocers type place in Silver City. But if you can get a hold of this coffee, especially if you're going to be in Albuquerque, because that's where they're based, it's worth picking it up for sure.
We then made our way up towards Cloudcroft. So Cloudcroft is a mountain town. So the town of Alamogordo is sort of surrounded by mountains, and Cloudcroft is up in them, quite high. And
name says it all.
That's one of the cool things about New Mexico is that in any of these big areas like Alamogordo or Albuquerque or Santa Fe, if it's hot, you can go up into the mountains. Or if you like snow, you can go up into the mountains, and there's just a huge temperature difference between those two places. So we made our way up to Cloudcroft, and on the way to Cloudcroft is the old apple barn. And we went here last time, and it was just as enjoyable this time.
Very indulgent this time.
It's a place where you can get lots of sweets like apple pie and cider, and they have lots of kitschy gifts and all that sort of stuff. But this was sort of a a dessert stop for us.
Yeah, so they have, I think, kind of what they consider a signature thing there is their slushies, and you can get a cherry and cider mixed slushy, cherry cider, apple cider mixed slushy, which is kind of, I think, their thing. Also, they had some amazing looking pecan pie, and I ended up getting an apple pie or an apple crisp a la mode,
which is what I had as well, right?
Which was just so good. And it's really kitschy in there. They have, sort of the 5 and dime type toys, and you can get taffy, and they have souvenirs, and Christmas was out when we were there. So, it's a really fun little stop. And they do have a restaurant, which they really wanted us to go to, like real bad, just a few doors down, where you can get burgers, bison burgers, if that's your thing.
Now, this is not a place that you're going to fit an RV. Even like a larger, like Class B plus, don't even
come
take
at
it there. As a matter of fact, the drive up into Cloudcroft, it's mountainy and windy. I would take a mid-size RV over it.
I mean, we know people who have.
But there's nowhere to stop with an RV really in Cloudcroft unless you're going to a campground or something like that. So it's worth it to sort of drive separately up there. You can, by the way, park an RV at Pistachioland.
Yes, you can.
So we did the old apple barn. It was nice, indulgent treats, and the kids got some little toys. Henry got a pro yo-yo that he is obsessed with.
He's very good at it.
And then we made our way up towards Cloudcroft. I'd say the old apple barn is about 2/3 of the way up. And we stopped at the Mexican Canyon Trestle, which is a railroad trestle, like a curved railroad trestle that gives you sort of just some beautiful views when they used to run railroads on these really dangerous routes. They were actually for logging to make railroad ties for other railroads.
And then they thought, look, we have this, we can use it, it's so popular, we can make more money.
What's amazing so this is just a roadside stop on your way up, but what's amazing is you're just miles and miles away from Alvegordo now. You're way up in elevation, but you can see White Sands National Park out there in the distance, cool. And that was really, really neat.
Yeah.
Continuing on our way up into Cloudcroft, right outside the city limits, we did a trail. We did the OSHA trail.
Oh, we were really busy this day.
We were. I mean, we spent maybe, it was almost 3 miles. It was 2.7 mile loop, I think. A trail going through woods, which I think is kind of cool if you haven't been in the woods in a while and you're in the Southwest and there's not a lot of trees. Going through the woods and getting some more of those beautiful views, seeing the big valley and all that, but really getting to sort of walk the edge of some steep hills and through big trees and stuff.
Now, a word about this trail, because it can be a little deceptive.
Get that All Trails map out.
Get the All Trails map out, because there are several trails that interconnect with one another through this area. But what can be deceptive about it, actually, is that when you show up, it's a very popular trail. When you show up, you're going to see a lot of cars, potentially in the parking lot, especially on a weekend. And you're going to see families with kids of all ages. And as we pulled in, I thought, oh, okay, cool. Look, there's young children, preschoolers.
They're not doing the whole trail.
And I was like, okay, because it is listed, I believe, as a moderate. And I thought, oh, okay, well, we all, I guess, interpret moderate differently. This is great. Well, as we got on the trail, we got to an overlook that's not far off the trail. And at that overlook, you can see the trestle, you can see White Sands. It's very beautiful. And then I noticed everyone was turning around and walking back to their cars. And I was like, oh, wait, these people aren't doing this full hike.
Now,
these children aren't doing this full hike.
That said, we're here. We're with the family that we've been traveling with, and they have a 6-year-old daughter, and she did the whole thing like a champ. Lots of running ahead of us. But the mistake I think we made is they brought their Chihuahua with, who's ancient. And
no, he's only 5. I wish you guys would stop.
No, he's not.
And dogs dogs are allowed on the trail.
They're allowed, but he had to be carried the whole way because obviously it was a lot longer than we thought it was.
Yes, and it's very rocky, and it goes up and it goes down. And when you come, because it's a loop, so just a tip if you do this trail, when you come to the fork in the road, you can go left or you can go right, and it's going to loop around and it's going to bring you back to this spot you are standing in. Do not go left. like we did, go right. Because if you go left, by the time you are exhausted and the children with you are exhausted to the point where they're like, just leave me here, you will be faced with this very steep climb upwards.
At the end.
At the end.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you're doing it regardless, but you're doing it over more time going the other way.
if you do it when you're fresh and you're going down, maybe it doesn't feel as awful.
Yeah.
When you have been on this trail for a considerable amount of time with people of all varying ages and an ancient 5-year-old Chihuahua, then you think, what am I doing? We should have gone right. We shouldn't have gone left. So when you get to the fork of the road, just go right and don't do as we did. But the trail itself, yes, it's got some climbing. It's longer, but we all did it and we had such a great time and it was really beautiful. I mean, the difference between being down in Alamogordo and then going up to Cloudcroft on this particular day was a 20-degree difference.
Yeah.
So it was 70 something down in Alamogordo, and by the time we got up to Cloudcroft, it was in the 50s, and it only continued to get colder as the day went on. But it is really such a gem to be able to go up there, and there's several trails in the area, so you can find something that's a little bit easier, but it's such a treat to be able to just go up there and have that shift in landscape. And then come down to White Sands and it's really, people in New Mexico, a couple of people like in and around, like when we were in Albuquerque and Santa Fe were like, oh, Alamogordo, how boring. And I was like, I love Alamogordo. What are you talking about? I mean, maybe from a living perspective, but, we failed to mention, I have to go back for just a second about Oliver Lee, how we were rattled several times by the missiles.
Oh, yeah.
That were being tested.
Yeah. That's the thing
wild.
to know about White Sands, too, is that the road to White Sands will close for an hour at a time while they do some missile testing in the area. So you can go on their website and you can see when closures are going to take place. Yeah. But, I mean, that's like 30 miles away, 20 miles away, something like that. No, probably more to the missile range. And one of those goes off and stuff was shaking in here.
Yeah, and that's the last time we were here back in 2018, it was spring, and we did not encounter that. So I don't know if this is a seasonal thing, certain time of year they're testing these out, or if we just happened to be there while they had some stuff they needed to get done and fire off a few things. It's totally wild to be in your RV and kind of feel it like start to rattle a little. It's a little unnerving. So just to be aware of, if you're staying at Oliver Lee or in that area. Back to Cloudcroft, though. Let's wrap it up by talking about the brewery that we went to.
ate at Cloudcroft Brewing Company, and let me just say off the bat, this is not a place I would ever eat again without reservations.
Well, we've also learned our lesson that, especially when we go out with our friends, that turns us into a party of 9, not 10, as we keep trying to say. And if we don't have reservations anymore, we're waiting for a very long time.
Well, and the problem is lots of places say they don't take reservations. And, and they're like, but you come and you'll be fine. And then you get there and they're like, oh, it's going to be a 3-hour wait.
So I don't know if we're just naive or we don't get what's happening in the world, but I thought yes.
Well,
it was Saturday.
There was a backup, though, because they also they have an outdoor area where you can sit and eat and just get takeout from their bar and take it outside.
That was a mess.
And eat it. So we thought, okay, that's going to be fine. And they allowed dogs sort of in that outside area anyway. So that was all a good idea for us. But the problem was just ordering from the bar took forever. Not the time to make the food, just getting to the bar to order something, to order a drink, to order the food, to pick up the food. I waited in line. I'm not kidding. I waited in line for 20 minutes to pick up the food that was already done.
And I feel, are pretty understanding and pretty chill about, we are so thankful for servers and these essential workers who allow us to go and have these nice chill dinners. I mean, But
it was a great place. I just would only eat there with a reservation. And even if I was a party of 2, I would not show up without a reservation at this place. on a busy night.
Well, this is, I was saying about maybe we're just naive and we don't get it. So we had, knowing that we were a large party, we thought, okay, we're going to get there before the dinner hour. Like, we showed up, I think, about 4:30, 5 o'clock. We thought we're going to get there on the early side because we know we're a large party. And also they were having music that night and it's a Saturday night. But I'm thinking, it's Cloudcroft in October. Like, what? We're going to just waltz right in.
No, it's packed.
That place was packed at 5 o'clock. They were telling me it was going to be a 3-hour wait.
And we've run into 3-hour wait suggestions many times recently.
Yeah.
So
This was not, though, the case of lack of staff. The place was packed. Like, it was just packed. And it was packed with a lot of large parties, too. So, on us for thinking we were the only people visiting the area. Like, how silly is that? Like, no one else is
we're
there.
A, we're a large party, but B, if there were parties of 5 showing up that they were telling them 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
So
they're just busy.
B, this is just a world we're living in now, where reservations are just making things easier. And if you're not a reservation person, I get it, but it just makes things easier. As a matter of fact, I just made our Thanksgiving reservation the other night
because we are not cooking.
Getting pretty late.
Yeah, we're not cooking this year. So spoiler alert.
All right, let's wrap up here this section about New Mexico, though, at City of Rocks.
Mm-hmm.
So we left Alamogordo and made our way to City of Rocks State Park, which is in Faywood, New Mexico.
New Mexico.
Not really much of a town.
No.
But it's north of Deming and south of Silver City. They're sort of the two big towns near it. Both maybe a half hour to 45 minutes either way to each one. City of Rocks is so cool because it's this giant valley with some smaller mountain peaks surrounding it. You can't see anything else for miles because you're in this valley. And there are these crazy rock formations, these volcanic rock formations. And last time we were here, we didn't get to do much camping in the rocks. We stayed in the electric sites, which are all kind of in a row, like a...
Still very nice.
They're still nice. But you're next to your neighbor, and you're sort of like, like a RV park in a row. The no hookup sites are literally within the rocks. So you actually get to pull your RV up into them and camp in them. Oh, now, this was a problem because...
I was going to say, do we have a word to the wise coming?
We're 43 feet, and we were able to make our site work pretty well. We had just an amazing site. It was gorgeous. Our friends are a little bit shorter than us.
Yeah, they're 36.
Their site was listed as the same size as ours, maybe even bigger. They could not get into their site.
No,
if they would have had to back up, they would have had to go backwards like a quarter mile up a road.
So
and even up there, the possibility of them getting level would have been absurd. So I highly suggest, if you're going to do this in a larger RV, really dig through reviews on all the review websites, find people that stayed in that exact site.
Yeah. So
and find out if they could fit a big rig in it.
We were site 6. So we'll throw that out right now.
Good site.
Great site. They were at site. They were trying to get into either site 4 or 5. Either one, no bueno. If you are, I would say,
30 feet or above.
Maybe even 25 or above. I mean, just the backing up and the steepness of having to back up into that and then try to get level.
Weird. It's just weird.
Because we had a hard time actually getting level in site 6.
Yeah.
And we ended up having to hook up again.
Yeah, definitely bring your leveling blocks.
Yes. But we did not like the way it looked and decided that it was just going to end up being a little bit more rocky in there than we would have liked.
And we were trying to get our friends into their site, and it was getting dark, and finally it was very dark. And it ended up being just, they were uncomfortable even trying at that point. And looking at it the next morning, I was like, oh, it looks even worse than it did in the dark, right? So you made the right decision.
Yeah.
Luckily, there was an electric site available, and they went down and got that.
Yeah. So, and some of the electric sites are reservable, and then others on the back row are first come, first served. So if you do get there and you book one electric site, but you decide you want to stay, you might be able to pick up one of those. And for the most part, again, I don't know, we probably could have squeezed our 43-foot fifth wheel into maybe a couple of those first come, first served sites,
Yeah.
but I would still caution they got their fifth wheel in, but I would caution again to be a little bit on the smaller side. If you don't know, then don't book, but this park is great. Again, there no dump station and
No,
water.
so not again. So Oliver Lee had a dump station.
I meant to say again, bathhouses.
Yeah.
A visitor center that is sporadically open with people who do not want to have to go get firewood for you. Like they are not interested in it might say they're selling firewood, but they are not interested in going
bring
and
your
collect.
But what's
bring
great
your
is
own.
that you could have a fire there, and your fires are within these beautiful giant rocks, which is wonderful. But yeah, no dump station, and we had a challenge with water fill because there's supposed to be a big water fill spot. There was no water coming out of that, so we actually had to pull into one of those water electric sites and fill. And thankfully, there wasn't somebody in that site.
Yeah.
So that was fortunate, but we were able to make it work and fill our tanks. I probably would have showed up with a full tank of water, knowing that situation.
Yeah.
But it's a cool spot. We had unfortunate weather the entire time we were there. Really, lots of wind.
So we left early
and
because
a little bit of cold. But
I was done.
But it was still beautiful, and we got to work and camp within these rocks. You get to climb through all of them. It's sort of a no holds barred. You just kind of go wherever you want through the rocks, and the kids loved that, and it's a blast. We then drove into Silver City for dinner one night. Silver City is nearby. We talked when we visited this area last time in 2018 more extensively about this because we spent more time in Silver City. We went into the Gila National Forest, did the Gila Cliff Dwellings, all that. That's all about 2 hours away from City of Rocks, so we didn't do much of that. But we did have dinner at a cool place called the Little Toad Creek Brewery. And generally, New Mexico breweries are pretty darn great. Lots of local beers, but then also lots of local spirits, and a lot of mezcal, which is wonderfully smoky and good. A lot of stuff in all the food and the drinks with green chili in it.
They'll put it on anything, and you should eat it because it's just delicious.
Yeah. So it was just a wonderful little dinner. We didn't really spend any more time in the town, but Silver City is a wonderful town to visit if you've got the time to do more than just have dinner and go to Walmart, which is kind of what we ended up doing. So we left City of Rocks and made a stop in Deming in order to dump our tanks, fill, and get some heat. So little tiny RV park, nothing to write home about. There are a whole bunch of them.
Only the chillest guy
on the strip,
ever.
but very chill. But lots of full-time residents hunkering down for the winter down there. But we did eat at a little restaurant there, which is camping themed, called the Happy Camper Clubhouse.
Yeah, we could actually walk to it from the campground, which was really nice.
Yeah,
and they had a bunch of local brews, and
they were out of like half of their menu, but it was still very, very good.
it was a great time. We met a really lovely family while we were there. They have this little soccer area that the kids were able to just play soccer, and they met some new friends, and we met some local farmers, and just it was this really sort of lovely way to close out our time in New Mexico. So the campground was nothing to write home about other than the guy who runs the place is a total character, and there's some characters that are staying there. But the proximity to the Happy Camper, if you find yourself in Deming, is definitely worth a stop and supporting.
That's our journey through southern New Mexico. We just had a blast. And if you have skipped New Mexico, if you haven't visited New Mexico, if you haven't put it on your bucket list, please do. It is truly a wonderful state where you can find lots of stuff that is just totally different than anywhere else in the country. We didn't even get to go to Carlsbad Caverns and Guadalupe National Park, which are two of our favorites as well. So
Guadalupe is technically in Texas.
Technically,
let's just say that now because you know someone's going to say something.
but they're on they're on Mountain Time.
I know.
Like,
I just want it clear that we understand Texas, that you have Guadalupe. Like, we get it.
All right, that's it for New Mexico. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about our tanks.
We'll be right back.
This episode of News from the Parks is supported by ParkWolf, the ultimate app for visiting U.S. national parks. With ParkWolf, you can view upcoming places and amenities as you drive through the park, locate the nearest gas, food, bathrooms, and pullover points. ParkWolf's wildlife maps show you the best times and places to see or avoid wildlife, along with a feed of the latest wildlife sightings and photos from the parks. ParkWolf even makes it possible for you to view your live location and direction on official park maps while staying up to date on current NPS alerts and advisories. ParkWolf keeps working even if you lose service. To learn more, download the ParkWolf app for iPhone free from the Apple App Store today.
Welcome back, and it is time to check the level of our tanks. Jason, what is in your black tank this week?
My black tank is this thing. Maybe this was in my black tank before. I'm not sure. I feel like maybe I've talked about this at some point.
I'm reading it right now, and I feel positive that we've discussed this.
I don't care. I'm bringing it up again.
That's how black of a tank it is to you?
Maybe I'll have a different spin on it here. These things called solar generators that people get. Solar generator is it's a BS term. It's a meaningless term. There's no such thing as a solar generator. What they are is portable power stations. And basically, it's a battery that you can plug a solar panel into with a little inverter inside, so you can, plug 110 volt things into it. And for the most part, they're decent little devices. If you want to carry around some battery power to be able to plug your laptop into or whatever, lots of campers use them, especially tent campers. They're great for that. And they're fine. My issue is twofold. A, that they try to sell them as solar generators because they think that's a catchy term. And B, the number of different brands of them out there, mostly Chinese knockoffs, and the number of them that try to get us to work with them.
Wow. So many emails.
And I know you all have maybe gone onto YouTube and seen lots of videos of different YouTube channels working with these companies that sell solar generators or portable power stations, and some of them are good brands. Jackery, Blue Eddy, those are good brands. But I'm not kidding when I say we must get 3 or 4 emails a week,
and it's always
from different brands that want to sell us, that want us to like show you a portable power station or solar generator.
They're always like, RV Abby, RV Jason.
Yes.
RB Miles.
ARBI Miles. Where do they get this stuff? I don't know.
The RB people were really persistent too. They were really persistent.
I don't want this to sound like, we get legitimate contact from companies all the time that want to send us a product and test it out and show it to you. And, for some of these companies, that's what this is. Mm-hmm. But the number of them, I hope I'm not, I hope I'm being very clear about the quantity of emails that we get from these is like 40-fold of what we get from any other sort of type of product. And I don't know what it is. If there must be some easy, cheap way to knock these off, but there's an obsession with trying to get them into your hands. And if it's not something that you have a reason to have, there's absolutely no reason for one.
I think sometimes too, it's really a good clue is that if you can only purchase this on Amazon, if you cannot go to their website, if you cannot see their product, if you don't have something besides, here's my Amazon, we sell on Amazon and we're a top seller on Amazon. Understand that being a top seller on Amazon does not hold water. Okay. That those are bot. Because they're emailing us, like those are bot reviews. Those are bot reviews. There's a lot of discrepancy there. I also think, we probably do receive dozens upon dozens every week. And I think, we don't come a lot with reviews of things because it really does have to be something that can be vetted, that can actually be a company that if you were to need to return it or you had an issue with it, you'd actually be able to talk to somebody and get that kind of support.
Jackery would be a good option if you're looking for something like this.
Yeah.
But these are not things that you're going to be plugging your RV into, right?
No, the sun
so
is
when they
not...
say solar generator, these are things that you're going to plug little devices like laptops and phones and lamps and stuff into. So what made me think of this, what made me put this in today is I just happened to be the day that I checked our spam folder.
Oh boy,
which I
we don't
maybe
do that
once a month or so. And so we get most of these in our regular inbox, but then I checked the spam folder, and there were so many more.
Oh wow, when I said dozens upon dozens, I wasn't even thinking about the spam folder. So all right, solar generator, we're back at you again, take two. But what, though, moving on, is in your fresh tank this week?
We just celebrated our anniversary, so my fresh tank is as us and you for having an anniversary for us,
You're welcome.
Sticking together for 14 years.
Married for 14 years,
so
together for a
happy
little
anniversary to you.
Happy anniversary to you as well. It's been quite the ride. As I said, it's been 14 years and a lifetime to go. So a lot more to accomplish still, but very proud of us for making it to 14.
All right, what is in your black tank this week?
So my black tank goes to the official NFL shop of the National Football League. Okay, listen to me. NFLshop.com. No, I'm done. I'm done with you. I can't. Flames, I'm like Madeline Kahn and Clue. Like, it's just, my face is going to explode here. So I got an email that you could take 25% off your entire order at NFLshop.com, the official shop of the National Football League. And our two boys have wanted...
We have three boys, but
we have
only
three,
two of them wanted this.
Only two. Our two football boys really want Justin Fields jerseys. Don't. Nobody say anything to me. Go Bears. So... Ethan wanted orange, Henry wanted blue. They want the real jerseys, and they can be really expensive. So I thought, 25% off. That's a really good deal. I'm going to get these for the boys. So I order them, but I paid through, and this is, I get it. I'll give some to me too, because I was ordering this on the fly after we had dinner. I'd had a couple margaritas, maybe it was, but I put in the address where we are here in Tucson. I was all set to check out. I went to go and pay with PayPal because it was so much easier than trying to find my credit card. And it must have defaulted back to the address on my PayPal account, which is our permanent address in the Quad Cities. So these are getting shipped to the QC, and I catch it. And I'm like, oh, God, I need to fix this. So I call, and I get first off, my apologies to this woman because, I'm sorry because I ended up just being like, I can't handle this. But I'm not sorry at the same time. I must have interrupted.
You're not sorry to the NFL. You're sorry, to the person whose job it was to carry out the policies of her employer.
Yes, because I could feel it through the phone that she too was like, this is the dumbest and I can't do anything about it. I must have interrupted her watching Judge Judy or something. First off, it's like all she said was hello. I was like,
that's a good start.
I was like, hello. And she's like, thank you for calling. I forgot to tell you that part. She's like, and I thought, oh no, this is not going to go good. So I said, oh, hi, I just placed an order. It's going to the wrong address. I've already tried to contact UPS, and they're saying they don't even have it picked up yet. There's nothing they can do about it because they don't have it. So it's still with y'all. Can I switch this address out? And she's like, I can put in a ticket, and in 24 to 72 hours, someone will contact you via email to tell you if that change can happen. I said, okay. I said, but in 24 to 72 hours, the package might be gone. And she says, I see also that it's guaranteed delivery by November 2nd, which is today. I said, okay, how is that possible? It hasn't left your warehouse. How is it going to be guaranteed at my house today? Well, all I can do is put in a ticket and someone will and I'm like, okay. I said, look, I'm in a location where I can't really wait 24 to 72 hours to hear a decision on whether or not you can change an address for me. Can I just go ahead and cancel this order, and I will reorder the products and I will make sure that the address is right? And she goes, I can put in a ticket, and in 24 to 72 hours, someone will let you know whether or not they can cancel your order. And at this point, I was like, hold up. I said, I said, I'm sorry. I said, maybe I made a mistake. Is this customer support? I said, did I call the right number? And she's like, this is customer support. And I said, so what's the, I was like, what is the support here? I was like, so you don't even have the ability to cancel an order. I said, I just want to cancel it and I'll reorder it. I said, I said that I'm somewhere where I can't wait 3 days to find out whether or not you can change the address. I'll be gone. I said, so I want to cancel it. And she's like, she just keeps saying, I can put in a ticket and in 24 to 72 hours. And I'm like, no, at one point, I don't know what I said to her, but
Who does the ticket go to? Can I talk to the people that the ticket goes to?
I asked her at one point, I said, is there anyone I can talk to here that is capable of doing customer support? I said, because I just want to get this figured out, because I couldn't. And at one point, I don't know what I said to her, but she's like silent. And I don't know. I just couldn't. And so it all ends. And she's like, so you have 2 tickets open, ma'am. And one is for, and I said, no, I don't want 2 tickets. Please cancel the ticket about changing the address. I just want to cancel my order. I say, just want to cancel my order. I said, I'd rather just go find like a Dick's Sporting Goods, pay an outrageous amount of money, and just at least know that if I got to return them, a human being isn't going to have to put in a ticket for 24 to 72 hours in order to tell me whether or not I can return something. It wasn't that it would be processed. It was literally, you will receive an email and someone will decide in 24 to 72 hours whether or not they can help you. Anyway, today, I didn't tell you this. So this morning, so that all happens. She says that she cancels the ticket about the change of address, and that in 24 to 72 hours, someone is going to let me know if they can cancel the order. Because I guess apparently they're like, well, if we've already boxed it, we're not going to like unbox it. You're just going to get it, and then you're going to have to return it. I get an email this morning that's like, hi, we received your ticket about wanting to change your address, and we just wanted to let you know that we're not capable of doing that. It's already left. So then I go over to UPS to try and change it, and UPS is like, we're sorry. You can't change that address. And I was just like, okay, whatever, fine. Just send it to the Quad Cities, and I'll figure it out from there.
Oh my gosh.
So NFLshop.com, you are not the official shop of the NFL. Maybe you are, because that is so dysfunctional. Like, it does sound actually like the National Football League. So.
All right, what's in your fresh tank this week?
So my fresh tank actually is going to jump us back to Deming, because I want to talk about this thing that a friend and I went and did that night after we were done at the Happy Camper on October 29th. Deming, at their like courthouse or immigration house, and then like their museum, they were having like a ghost tour, like a supernatural paranormal, like the Gila paranormal investigators were leading this like 2-hour event where you were going to go through the entire museum.
I'm sorry, the what?
The Gila paranormal investigators. I told you this.
This is their job?
Well, I don't know if it's their job. They're probably just a bunch of volunteers. Okay. But
volunteers?
You know what? Just stop. It's
some
fun.
some dudes with a basement hobby.
No, it was not. Actually, it was not a bunch of dudes with a basement hobby. There were people of all ages. They had equipment. We were given like all different kinds of equipment. Like I had an EMF and I had to like try and see if I could like get the electromagnetic, field. And they had cameras set up everywhere trying to record things. Some people had, everyone had equipment, and we were led through the museum, and we were taken over to the immigration house, and all this stuff. But here's why it's got my fresh tank. Okay. I had a blast. Jamie and I had a great time. Okay. You can sit over there
If you
in
can't
judgment.
tell, I'm not a big believer in the ghosts.
You don't. It's just fun. It's not like but let me just say, okay, Deming turned out for this event. I thought maybe it would end up just being like me, my friend, maybe a couple other people. No. There were like 50 of us from like 9 to 11. We all had to be divided into groups. And they had snacks. They had cider. They had cookies.
They got your money to go look for things that don't exist. I hope they had snacks.
We will have to agree to disagree on things. I am not here to... I am but one person on this earth, and I cannot make those kinds of calls about what is or is not out there.
Yeah.
Okay? But the Gila Paranormal investigators can, and they do this every year, and they are very good at their job.
On that note, that's it for this week's episode of the RV Miles podcast.
Yes, it is. And hey, it is that time of year again when we are all starting to think about the holiday season. Can you believe that? We went out to dinner for our anniversary, which is November 1st, to the exact same place we had been to the night before, which was an outdoor mall to trick or treat with our kids. And you would never have known that Halloween existed.
Christmas was in full force.
Everywhere. It was everywhere. So if you are already thinking about the holiday season and just kind of scrolling around on Amazon, please consider taking RV Miles with you when you go to amazon.com/shop/RV Miles. Anything you buy, just going through that link, will get a little bit of a kickback back to us, and it goes right back into the business. So thank you very, very much for those of you already using the link. Also, a very big thank you to everyone who continues to go over to Apple Podcast and leave RV Miles a 5-star review. I do not have your name in front of me, but one of our most recent reviews talked about how they love this show so much that they could not figure out how to leave a review. So they went and they were Googling and they were doing everything they could because they wanted to support us so much and figure out how to leave. And that is so kind. And that kind of just like effort and community support is just exactly why we do what we do here. The community is just so amazing. So thank you to everyone who has done that. Until next week, thank you so much for joining Jason and I. Stay warm, stay healthy, and keep logging those RV miles.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.